Hello, I thought we'd take a look at the NASDAQ this time around, particularly what's happened with stock markets over the last week or so, concerns about the US debt crisis, all of that. I think there's an opportunity. I did a trade on the NASDAQ in the last video I closed that out for a good profit, and I wonder if there's another trade to do again today. So first of all, let's have a quick catch up, have a quick look at the chart. So we saw the market, the NASDAQ 100 peaked in November 2021 after that great rally after the COVID big sell-off in 2020. After the peak in November 2021, we saw the market sell off into October 2022. So we saw the market slide for about 11 months. And since then and this year, we've seen it try to build a recovery. And just in the last week, the NASDAQ 100 has hit the best levels since April 2022. So I thought, let's take a look at it and let's see what the opportunity might be. So as usual, in this video, I'll talk about some of the recent news around this market, then we'll jump onto the charts, take a look at things in a bit more detail and see if there's a trade to set up. Before we get into that, a quick mention for the newsletter that I send out every weekend, comes out typically on a Sunday, free of charge. If you go to the website, davidjonestrading.co.uk, a box comes up and you can sign up, put your email in for the newsletter there. And what I do, it's a catch up with what's going on in markets, a look at the markets I'm trading and why, and also a weekly trading tip. So if you go to the website, you can find out more about that. There's also information on there about the trading course I've been running for the last few years now. It breaks down into short-term trading, holding trades for sort of hours and days, and a more medium-term trading approach, holding trades for sort of days, weeks, and occasionally months. So all that information is on the website. So take a look and sign up for the newsletter. Right, let's get into it. Let's take a look at this NASDAQ in a bit more detail. So last time round in the video, I was talking about some of the concerns out there about a US recession. There's been a lot of talk about this in recent months. We have this inverted US yield curve that has historically been a great predictor of recessions. But I think, like I said last time round, the market didn't care. And the market hasn't cared. You know, we've seen these stock markets continue to push higher. So I think concerns about the impact a recession could have on the stock market have been overblown, and the market has borne that out so far. But the more recent concern is the US debt ceiling. There's been no resolution so far onto how to raise the level of the US debt ceiling, and we're a couple of weeks away from a possible default, potentially, of the US on its debt. Now, we've been here before. You know, over the years, we have seen this come up on a regular basis, and surprise, surprise, it does eventually get resolved. And the expectation is, I think, for most people, that we will see a resolution to this. But it's been another thing, you know, this concerns about raising the debt ceiling and the government or the parties unable to come to any sort of resolution on this. This is perhaps something that has spooked markets over the last couple of days. But for me, you know, if markets are spooked and the trend is up, this can be an opportunity. Later today, at the time of releasing this video, we'll have the latest Fed minutes from the last Federal Reserve interest rate setting meeting. So we could see some volatility. This is Wednesday, I'm recording this, in the last couple of hours of US trading when those come out. It'd be interesting to see what the Fed thinks about the state of the economy. Are there any hints in there as to interest rate rises in the future and where we might have seen interest rates peak? So that's a bit later on today. And that's it, you know, but I still think, you know, there's always news, there's always volatility, but there are still opportunities out there. I did a video earlier this year, I think it was the first video on the channel, asking, is the NASDAQ going to be the comeback king for this year? And so far, you know, since that video, the market's up more than 15%. And I wonder, from a short-term point of view, the volatility we've seen so far this week, is it an opportunity? Let's take a look. Let's see if there's a trade to do. I'll do a trade in this video. Let's jump on the charts and take a look at things in a bit more detail. So let's take a look at this NASDAQ. Before I do that, let me show you the trade I did on the last video. I closed that out. Let's take a quick look at that. So you can go back to the old video from a few weeks ago and watch the entry on that. But closed it out just this week, actually, just yesterday, for £366 profit. in the end. So that ended up being a good trade. We'll come back onto this platform and do another trade, I think, on the NASDAQ, but let's go and have a look at it first. So just to recap where we've been, the highs in November 2021, the market sells off into October 2022, then into this year, holds above those old lows. And then the story for much of this year has been this recovery. So let's take a look at that. So this is where we are in the recovery. So just this week, we've seen new highs for recovery, which is bullish, obviously. We've seen the market trade to its best levels since April 2022. So we're at 13-month high in the NASDAQ. Buying the dip has been an approach that's worked well this year. And I'm still happy to do that. When it comes to targets on the upside, I suppose for me, the next target, perhaps a run back to the mid-April highs, around about 14,250. So what's that? About 600 points higher than where we are now. We'll see if the NASDAQ can do that. At the moment, it's still weak. I'm recording this in the out of hours market, so it's a few hours before US trading starts. By the time the video goes up, the US market will probably be open. So for me, still looking to buy a dip. You know, we've got lots of pockets of support in this market. The big one for me, we're going to go back to only April lows. April lows are around 12,720. I think if that level breaks, does it start to look as if this year's trend is under pressure? So for now, I'm quite happy to buy the dip. If we take a look at the RSI, it has gone overbought with this strength that we've seen over the last week or so. The RSI has gone overbought. We've got to go back to here, end of March, when the RSI last went overbought. The market, did drift for a bit after that, no major sell-off, and then of course hooked higher. And before that, we go back to February, the only other time this year it's been overbought, and again we had a bit of a sell-off. So perhaps the market might be under some pressure from here on the daily chart, but I'd still like to set a trade up here. So what I want to do is set a trade up to buy the NASDAQ. Before we do that, let me just show you how the trades have done so far. So as you probably know, I do run a trading course, and one of the ways I try to demonstrate my approach in the trading course is trading with real money. So I've set up this account to use for the YouTube videos and the live streams, and in this account I trade with real money. So it started off with £2,000. I think it was during March, because the first trade I put on was back on at the end of March. So during March, so what's that, about a couple of months ago, £2,000. At the moment, with closed positions, I've got cash of 2,244. I'm running open positions at the moment, up 330 or thereabouts in UK pounds. So my overall equity is 2,574. So it's been pretty good, return over the last couple of months or so. Of course, I've got to say, past performance is no guarantee of future performance, but the approach I use for these trades is exactly the approaches I talk about on the short term and the medium term course. To find out more, if you go to the website davidjonestrading.co.uk, you can take a look at the past performance from when I last did this, showing a trading account from last year, November to January of last year. You can find out about the course details. And of course, you can, if you click on the broker section, I've done a short video that explains why I trade with this broker, 10-minute video, and there's a link to them from there. But to go back to the account, so we've got these open positions at the moment. The biggest winner at the moment is a dollar index trade. There's a Tesla trade in there. There's a trade from last week's live stream, a gold trade. There's Nvidia, General Electric. There's just one losing trade at the moment. So Pioneer Natural Resources. If I have a look at performance analytics, you can see a breakdown of the year to date. Like I said, I only started trading in March, but the win rate is 80%. That's a bit on the high side. Normally it'd be more like 60% for me. So it has had a good run. The risk reward is 1.65. So if I'm wrong, I lose, for example, $100, but on winning trades, I make $165. It's all about the performance rate in there, winning trades versus losing trades, the overall P&L, all of that detail, and a little chart so far of the P&L so far. But let's go back and think about a trade for doing on the NASDAQ. So what I might do, let's flip this over to an hourly chart. So I'd like to be a buyer of the dip. The only question is, how far does the dip go? So this is what the hourly chart looks like, picking up on the lows from the beginning of this month. You can see it's just threatening this trend line at the moment. This is, again, another one of the setups I teach on the short-term course. I'm not too bothered by trend lines being broken, but I'd like to be a buyer. We do have later on today the release of the latest minutes from the last Federal Reserve meeting. So perhaps typically I'd wait till those were out of the way. But what I'll do, I always like to get a trade on during these videos. So I'll put a trade on. I'll give it a bit of a wide stop. So I think it is interesting here. You know, we're pushing back. We're at 13,645 now. So it's what, 250 points or so off the highs that we've seen over the last week in the NASDAQ. So I'm speculating that perhaps we'll see a bit of a snap back here. We've got various pockets of support. For me, there's big support coming in at 13,570. We've got bigger support down here at 13,422. So what I might do for a stop loss, if I think we are going to see some strength coming back in, perhaps place it in the middle here. So let's say I'm going to go 13,490 for a stop. So I appreciate the market's been under pressure the last couple of days, but I am expecting the strength to come back in. Let's give the market a bit of wiggle room. So I go 13,490 for a stop, be a buyer to see if we can get a run back up to those old highs. Let's set the trade up. So I'm back on the trading platform. Here's my NASDAQ chart. Let's say I'm happy to risk losing around $300 on the trade. Let's put the stop loss in first. So I'm saying 13,490 for a stop. If I trade two contracts where the market's trading now with a stop at 13,490, then my risk is $294. That's it. I'm happy with that. Let's send the trade through. That's it. The trade's been activated. The stop loss is in. There's the trade down there. Buy two. US Tech 100. Let's see how it works out. So like I say, perhaps the more patient trade is to wait for these Fed minutes to be out of the way. But given the trend in this market, I'd still like to be a buyer of the dip. I think it's going to be a really interesting market to watch over the next couple of days and into the rest of this year. And going back onto the dailies, it's only if we see these old lows broken from April around 12,720 would I start to worry this trend is reversing. But for now, I'm just treating any weakness as buy the dip opportunities. Let's see how it turns out. That's it for this update in the NASDAQ. We'll see how that trade does. The one from a few weeks ago, which ran for a few weeks, ended up being a good winner. Let's see how this one turns out. Don't forget, go to the website to find out more about the broker I use. There's a short video on there. Sign up for the newsletter and have a look at the trading courses. Any questions, you can contact me from the website. We'll do the live stream as usual this Friday. But for now, we'll leave things there. So until the next time, good luck with your trading.